CMC got traded, and Elijah Moore is a player who requested a trade. He doesn't want to be on the New York Jets anymore. And Joel, you were talking about this, and you told me that your team Elijah Moore, you like Elijah Moore a lot. You understood the request. You told me that the Jets, you just don't like how they've been using them. So give me your thoughts on it, because I know you've been very critical of the Jets.
I believe the complete opposite of what my co-host Joel Moran is saying. First off, if this is all it is, because we don't at least think we know the whole story. If it truly just is production with Elijah Moore, that's all we're talking about here. There's no issue with Robert Saleh, with Zach. He doesn't like New York. If we're just talking about production on the field, it is a selfish move by Elijah Moore. He has come out multiple times and said, earlier in the season and last season, all he cares about is winning. He even said, I don't care if I have 0 targets, 0 catches, 0 yards. If we're winning, that's all I care about. The first 3 weeks of the season, we had Joe Flacco. We played some tough teams. We played Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland, all teams that were pretty tough where we had to pass the ball, right? Joe Flacco, we were leading the league in attempts. Joe Flacco, 40, 50, sometimes 60 passing attempts per game. So Elijah Moore was getting 6, 7, 8, 9 targets per game, so he was happy then. Now Zach Wilson comes back in. We're a bit more conservative. We're also playing teams that aren't as great. We're playing Pittsburgh, where the fourth quarter Zach was great. The first 3 quarters he was not. We're playing the Dolphins with the backup quarterback. And then last week we're playing the Packers, who was probably our toughest test out of those 3. But we see the Packers right now. They're not a great football team. Offensively and defensively, they've been disappointing. So for Elijah Moore to come out and request a trade after the Jets have just won 3 games in a row, they're 4-2. Everyone's looking at them as legit wild card contenders. We see the culture of this team. We see all of the rookies getting together, how much they enjoy each other's presence, how much they say how good they are, how they support each other, how they uplift everybody. And you have Zach Wilson also coming out in press conference saying, I've talked to Elijah, how much we care about him, how much we love him, how we need him on this team. How Saleh has come out and said he's an important piece. We have no intention of trading him. We want him here. We want him to be a New York Jet. And even Joe Douglas has said he's not getting traded. Now, I do understand Joe Douglas has said that about Jamal Adams, but Seattle came with 2 first-round picks. I don't care who it is. They were going to be trading Jamal Adams for 2 first-round picks. I don't think Elijah Moore gets traded. I don't think there's any situation where you would want to trade Elijah Moore, who is just a second-round pick, a high second-round pick, who showed flashes last year as a rookie, where he put up multiple 100-yard games with backup quarterbacks, with guys like Josh Johnson, with guys like Mike White, with guys like Joe Flacco, and he even had really good connection with Zach Wilson last season. This year, they haven't been able to get on the same page. Zach has also only played 3 games where Elijah Moore had 4 targets, and 0 targets. So I don't like the timing of this for Elijah Moore. If we were losing, that's one thing. We're 4-2 right now. We're a run-first team that's playing phenomenal defense, and we have a legit chance to make the playoffs for the first time in over 10 years. So I don't like the fact that Elijah Moore is coming out now and saying this. I think he should really galvanize with the team, be a team guy. Hey, I'm struggling for the last 3 weeks, but guess what? We won 3 games in a row. It's not like Corey Davis or Garrett Wilson has done anything these last 3 weeks. Corey Davis led the team with 50 yards receiving against the Packers. It's not like other guys are eating. The only person who's eating on this offense right now is Breece Hall. He's been dominant over this last month when he's really taken over the reins as RB1. So I think right now for Elijah Moore, he just has to have some patience. If he trusts in Zach Wilson, I think he just has to just wait a little bit. Let Zach get his feet under him until we really light up this offense, until we open up this offense. Because right now, with the way Breece and the defense is playing, there's no need for Zach to drop back 40 times. I think Zach is the future of this team. I think he's the franchise quarterback. But right now, the way this team is constructed and the way we are executing, there's no need to put the ball in harm's way by making him have 40 attempts.
There's a brand new fantasy app. It's called Boom Fantasy. You got over-unders, player props. You got matchups. This player versus that player. That's personally my favorite. And long shots. You can win 40 times your money. And if I'm not mistaken, Joel, NBA is coming soon.
Yes, sir. NBA will be in the app in the next 10 days or so. Wow. I believe opening night is October 19th, so we'll have stuff up a few days beforehand. That's going to be fun because we have it every night. You don't have to wait till Monday, Thursday.
Did you get your code? The League Pass?
I did get my code for League Pass.
I got my code too.
Yep, that's amazing.
That's from 2K, right?
Yes.
That's tough.
Amazing.
That's fire.
So if you guys haven't already, download the Boom Fantasy app right now. Link is in our description or in the caption wherever you're watching.
Dehls, how would you go about fixing it?
If I was Robert Saleh?
Yes. How would you go about fixing this? Because it sounds like you said it was wrong timing. You said you're winning, so you would like to keep the pace and the flow of the offense, so nothing would change in your eyes. So how would you go about fixing it?
Well, first of all, they said this is very uncommon for Elijah Moore. This is not someone pre-draft last year, in any part of the way that he was looked at as selfish or someone who would have this type of outburst. So I don't want to, assume there's other things going on in his life. But if I'm Saleh, I'm sitting him down, I'm getting with the offense, whether it's Zach Wilson or if it's LaFleur, whoever it might be, and seeing how we could figure this out. I don't have the answer to it, right? I think Saleh has done a very good job managing personalities. We really haven't had any issues. He's only been there for 2 years. This is year 2 with Robert Saleh, so it's not like he's had a ton of, issues so far, thankfully. The only thing I do worry about, and Sauce Gardner did tweet out something like out of the Philippians verse or whatever about selfishness and like basically saying how like we as a collective are bigger than the individual. I do worry, especially with how great this rookie class is. There could be some sort of divide with the rookies, how great they've been. They look at themselves saying, we're what's putting this team over the hump. And the other guys in the locker room, maybe someone like Elijah Moore who hasn't had his type of success yet, who still wants to prove himself in the NFL. I do worry a little bit about a divide, especially how good Garrett Wilson has looked in spurts, being the 10th overall pick compared to Elijah Moore's, second round pick. But I don't have a great answer. I don't know how exactly you fix it. I think you just have to sit down and say, listen, Elijah, you're not getting traded. So if you want to go out and help us win, let's do it. Or if not, if you want to be a healthy scratch for the next 3 years, he's under contract this year, 2024, or 2023, and 2024. Then he could hit free agency. But if we want to, we could franchise tag him. So, he has no leverage here.
So by no means you wouldn't trade him, even though everybody seems to be on board, seems to be fully intact with the program and what you guys have been
unless
doing.
It gets really ugly. Unless he really forces a way out where he's, on a Robbie Anderson type of level where he's yelling at the coaches on the sideline, getting kicked off the field. If it gets to that level, yeah, you trade him. But if it's just going to be like this and we hear quite like Denzel Mims requested a trade in August, right? We haven't heard anything about Denzel Mims. He's been a healthy scratch damn near every week. So if it goes like that, Elijah Moore's not gonna be a healthy scratch. He's way too good.
Yeah,
he's
way
looked at
also.
like I know the front office, the coaching staff, Zach Wilson looks at Elijah Moore. You are a key piece to this team right now and in the future. You are going to be one of the best wide receivers on this team. We have no intention. We do not want to trade you. Let's find a way to work this out because we could be a really explosive offense with you on the team.
I'm Team Elijah Moore, and it's frankly simple because I am annoyed with Mike LaFleur too. The same way Elijah Moore is annoyed with Mike LaFleur, so am I. There was a video that surfaced of Elijah Moore dropping his helmet, AVT picking it up and giving it back to him and telling him we don't do that, E. And it looked like from a game earlier in the season.
It might have been from last year even.
So this isn't, I don't believe this is something new. I think it's been lingering on. And the Green Bay game was just all of his frustrations in one game. Because watching the All-22 of that game, Elijah Moore was sent on go routes almost all the time. And he wasn't even a key part of the play. I mean, he's the third progression on these plays. He's getting sent on these go routes. He's not even getting looked at, and they're just sending him out like a decoy, and he's not getting targeted whatsoever. And the players that are getting targeted, when Mike LaFleur does set up a little easy completion for an easy completion, it's to either Corey Davis or it's to Garrett Wilson. And Garrett Wilson in that Green Bay game, I think, dropped 2 or 3 passes. Granted, Jair Alexander was knocking him out, but Garrett Wilson dropped a couple passes, and there was this one instance where he ran such a bad out route where it could have been a near interception. It looked like a bad pass on Wilson, but it wasn't. It was Garrett running a terrible route, and Elijah's over here looking like, I can do better than that. But you're not putting me in those positions to be that. And also, when he was the first or second option on some plays, there was this one instance where he's running an in-breaker, and he beats his man, but you got covered. You got a robber right there waiting for him, waiting on that route. He is not getting open because the scheme is not allowing him to get open. Sometimes he beats his man, but oh, look, there's a linebacker, there's a safety right there waiting for Elijah. He's the guy that's always has guys around him, and that's an offensive issue. Watching this Jets offense, nothing about it screams explosive. Nothing about it screams consistent. Nothing. The Jets generate these points versus Green Bay, for example. There were 3 plays that decided the game on offense. The Zach Wilson to Corey Davis play, the Braxton Berrios jet sweep, and the Breece Hall touchdown. That's it. Outside of those plays, nothing was able to get generated offensively. The Jets receivers were blanketed. There were some instances where Zach Wilson was a half second late, maybe on a rub route concept, and he just really didn't trust it that much. But for the most part, nothing was really schemed up well, and Packers secondary locked up these Jets receivers, and Elijah Moore is just hoping to get open on some of these concepts, and I think Michael LaFleur is doing a terrible job. Versus the Steelers, we weren't able to consistently move the offense. Versus the Dolphins, although we had a lot of points, it was really only a couple of these splash plays here and there that got a drive going. The Zach Wilson wheel route throw to Breece Hall, the Breece Hall big-time run. For the most part, the Jets have not been able to consistently generate offense, go on these 9 to 10 play drives that everything just looks like it's going, like it's clicking. The Giants, I see Brian Dable do that week in and week out. They always have a couple drives where I'm like, wow, that was an excellent drive. Daniel Jones is decisive. These guys are getting open, and their receivers are not as good as the Jets receivers. But for some reason, Mike LaFleur, these defensive coordinators are literally prepared for every single concept that he calls. I was taken aback. Against the Packers, nothing was open. Nothing was open. It's like they prepared for every single play Mike LaFleur was going to call. They had him figured out. And I feel like Mike LaFleur, that's the reason why Elijah Moore is frustrated. Because Mike LaFleur has a bland, generic offense, and they have no rhythm. That's why I understand his frustrations, because me watching the same game, I'm frustrated as well. And if we had a different play caller, we would see this defense be elite, but this offense have such an explosion that we're actually talking about the Jets as we might not just be a little bubble team. We might be serious, because the way the Jets are playing is not sustainable. When we're going to see Denver this Sunday, it's going to be a big-time test because their secondary are Pat Surtain, Justin Simmons, K'Wan Williams. I mean, they get after it. And we're going to see how Michael LaFleur plays against them. We got the Bills coming up. We got the Patriots coming up. If we were getting locked up by Green Bay, we were getting locked up by Miami for the most part. It wasn't an easy offensive day, at least passing-wise. If we're not able to pass the ball against these teams and they stop the run just somewhat and limit these little gimmicky, gadgety, fuckery plays, what the fuck are we going to do on offense? And that's what I have frustrations with. We don't generate offense unless it's some gimmicky play. And that's what I'm frustrated with. And usually those gimmicky plays, Elijah Moore is not the beneficiary of them.
I don't disagree. Before you guys go, I'll just be quick. I don't disagree with what you're saying. I have very much the same sort of thoughts about Mike LaFleur. There's some games where I feel like he is on, not as much this year, but especially last year towards the end of the year when Zach came back from injury. There was games where he was on, where he was scheming up things, where guys were open. But he also has plenty of moments where I look at the play call and I'm like, what are you doing? You know, I do think Mike LaFleur has to be responsible here, but I also have to look at Elijah Moore and say, okay, these last 3 weeks haven't gone my way, but do I have to go out and request a trade? That seems a little bit over the top to me. That seems a little bit dramatic to me. He could not like what Mike LaFleur is doing. I completely understand that. He could not like the way Zach Wilson is quarterbacking too. I'm not just going to put this on the floor. It's not like Zach Wilson has been lights out by any means.
Zach Wilson did not have anything open in that Green Bay game.
Okay, that's fine. But I don't think after 3 weeks you have to go out and say, I want out of here. I want to trade. If you believe in this system, if you believe in this culture, if you believe in Zach Wilson.
He doesn't believe in the system.
Well, then that's a bigger issue.
Yeah, with the system.
Do you think it's more Wilson not getting in rhythm or just LaFleur's play calling? Or a little bit
From
of
what I saw in the Packers game, nothing was open. Like, anywhere Zach Wilson was trying to throw, we would have looked back at that and been like, that was a stupid throw for him to try to make.